Hello, Michael here with a friendly reminder that this is part 2 of our two-part discussion on Volume 9. We had a lot to say and hope you enjoy. And 77 will be V.
I really liked the intro image here again. It's absurd and chaotic, and I'm here for it, with Zorro just pouring liquor in a chicken's mug, and then there's like chickens fighting everywhere, and there's a wolf head hanging. Anyway, it was all sorts of chaos, and I really...
You just like it because
really
Zorro's
enjoyed it.
in the middle of it.
I mean, yeah, there's beer and Zorro. What else could I ask for? Nothing. This is perfect. I wish I could be there. I wish he was pouring me a drink instead of a chicken.
It's ironic there's a plate of chicken wings on the table.
Is there? It could be duck wings.
It's poultry.
Yeah, it's still a bird.
It's close enough. And then speaking of Zorro, I really like when he says, "Don't worry about him. He's quirky."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he sure is. I'm like even more so. I feel like that's the understatement of the year.
And I feel like that's
No,
Zorro's true thoughts.
He's
like
quirky. Yeah.
Luffy's quirkiness probably just bounces off him. He's like, yeah, that's the captain.
That's just the way he is. Yeah, exactly. And like he doesn't put it into question.
Yeah.
He doesn't wish that things were different. He doesn't try to explain it away other than just saying, yeah, that's just the way he is. He's quirky. And then, you know, we're setting up for some very compelling storytelling. But yeah, she mentions Belmar again, and sure enough, we meet her. A very, very important character in the chapters to come. You know, foster mother isn't quite far from what I had assumed with regards to stepmom or whatever. Like it lines up. And I spoke about that a little bit in the previous chapter when I was talking about the interaction between Nami and Nojiko, but I'm getting this feeling of hominess in the flashback. The setting is very homey, very warm, very welcoming, and you can feel that Benma truly cares for the girls and that she's trying her best to provide a loving environment despite not being financially fortunate. So I feel a lot for this character, and that's probably going to come out a little to an even more painful extent in the next chapter. But her struggle is the struggle of many people, of many single parents, and it's very, very human, and it's very humbling as someone that, as far as that's concerned, comes from a place of privilege with two parents that, you know, I never missed out on anything in my life, and my parents are both still alive, still together, still in love. Like, I've never experienced anything similar to what they're going through, and I can really appreciate how much effort and how much sacrifice Benmar is displaying here with the girls. That's part of what it broke my heart to see them fight, because I get that Nami doesn't really understand, because she's young, right? In this flashback, she's 10 years old. Yeah. She doesn't really grasp the entirety of what's going on, and she doesn't know better, really, as a 10-year-old. But I also understand why Belmar's feelings would be hurt. Like, she's trying really hard. I don't want to be reading too much into it, but I feel like maybe, and this is like conspiracy V, like, it wouldn't surprise me if this woman also resorted to something like prostitution to provide for the girls.
We get hints of that.
Did say, yeah, because she did say that she would pay Genzo back in kisses.
I think that's a very under the table way of saying that. Yeah, I wrote the same thing.
I think it refers to that, and it makes it maybe in a more digestible format for a younger audience, but that's definitely a red flag that was raised for me. And again, I have a lot of empathy for people that...
But we're very pro sex work here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sex work is real work, absolutely. But I have empathy for a situation like that where someone has to do that to provide for their family. And, you know, throughout this flashback, we get kind of a flashback within a flashback.
Yeah.
But we get even further explanation as to why Benmar is so devoted to the girls. They're literally each other's reason to be alive, right?
Yes.
Like, the girls would not be alive without her, and she would not be alive without them. And I think that that's super compelling, especially considering what we are going to be diving into in the next chapter. And I'm trying not to think about it because I'm already kind of tearing up. Anyway, and because I was getting kind of emotional in writing that, I made a bad joke, and I said, "A flashback within a flashback? Did this inspire Inception?"
Oh, not the worst joke.
And I did also notice the drawing of the flashback within the flashback is even darker and deeper in that heavily shadowed in art style. It's like it shows the extra layer of flashback that we're getting into. And then I saw Arlong show up. And my only thought was, oh no, here it comes. And I just, from that moment on, I felt my stomach drop, and that's only gonna be chapter 78 is no joke, guys, but yeah, chapter 77 was just the perfect way to set all of those pieces into place and is preparing us for heartbreak, and we're gonna talk about it more later, but for now Dylan.
Yeah, I kind of like how it opens up with Luffy, being Luffy. It's like, I don't care. I'm not interested in her past. It's kind of like, I'd say there's a bit of a merit to his character, where it's like, you did what you did in the past. I only care about, you now. Like,
that's fair.
And then Usopp's like, I don't want to hear this. Or no, Usopp's like, what? You serious? You don't want to hear this? And he's like, nope. Later. And like you said, like, Nochiko's like, well, what's with him? Oh, he's quirky. So Larry says, I was like, yeah, we'll listen to your story, though. Doubt we'll learn much. And it's like, well, yeah, especially since you're asleep. And then Usopp's like, yeah, I'll give it a listen. And Sanji's like, oh, yeah, me too, heart.
I'll be listening hard.
Yeah, I'll be taking notes. And it's kind of funny, because, like, Dochiko kind of laughs at herself. It's like, no wonder Nami's having a hard time. These guys are fucking, makes you want to smash her head against the wall. And, of course, I mean, Nami, kind of being the spoiled brat that she did, kind of wrecked up this nice little house. Wakes up, sees the basket of tangerines, soon Belmare. And then we get cut into the flashback, where as a kid, seems like she has stolen a navigation book. And then you get to meet Belmare, which her shirt says Mace. I don't get the if there's any significance to that. It's lost on me. And then the way she greets is like, oh, hello, Nami. And it's like, oh, hey. And it's like, stop, this is serious. Like, she was stealing. Why are you being so casual? The kisses thing, you bring up the prostitution thing, and that kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But to me, it's more just like, hey, I'm an attractive woman, and I can easily use my charms to kind of get what I want out of you.
Let me interrupt you, Dylan. Bellamere definitely has this, like, alternative thing going, but I don't know if she's traditionally attractive. I feel like V would probably think she is. Do you?
What do you mean, like the shape, like the
shaved head
side shave with the braid kind of thing? I don't know what to call it. Running down.
I like it. I think, like, I don't know that it's conventionally attractive, but I think she kind of exudes
the right
that,
person
like,
to pull it
big
off.
mommy energy.
Yeah.
I like.
All I gotta
her.
say is the cigarette. The cigarette ain't the only thing that's smoking, if you know what I mean.
Dylan, are you into that kind of?
I think it takes like a really specific person / head shape to be able to pull it off. I have seen people who have done it, and I'm just like, ugh, no, it doesn't work. I've seen other people, it's like, yeah, I can dig it.
It also takes a certain type of person to back it up as far as their personality goes.
Yeah, like if you had that, like, you're like super meek
I
and
wouldn't,
shy.
I couldn't pull it off, but because I'm way too soft
yeah.
of a person.
Aww.
But it works for some people for sure.
And then after he blushes, he's like, "Oh, you're blushing. How cute." He's like, "Stop it!
I am a man."
Yeah, I don't blush. It's sunburn, I swear. And then Nami, being a cute little kid, it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just had to have this book." It's like, "Oh, don't you tell me." And her sister's like, "You're clumsy. If I had stolen it, I wouldn't have gotten caught."
We don't steal.
Yeah. I was like, "Well, you couldn't buy it for me, so like, why not?" And it kind of goes over their money problems. It's like, hey, it's like, we're working. I'm doing the best I can. And then you kind of get Nami's whole thing. It's just like, no, like, you get to see her actual dream. She's like, well, I stole this so I can draw more maps. She's looking at the maps. She's like, hey, these are actually really accurate, really good. She's like, someday I'm going to go see all of the world and make a map of the entire world. Being the good mom that she is, shows her the map that she drew. It's like, well, hey, this is the first step to your dream. Like, keep at it. Let's go on. then you get to see some more of the money problems. It's like, oh, you're not eating again. Why not? And it's like, oh, I'm just on a diet. And that's Nojiko, like, you know how kids are. It's like, well, it's like, in that case, I'm not going to do it either. It's like, no, don't do that. You're a kid. You need to eat.
She's like, no, you got to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kind of puts two and together. It's like, you're lying. You're not eating because we can't afford no food. And then, like, I want to die. Don't underestimate the beautifying effects of tangerines, you two. I'm 30 years old.
Your skin is orange.
But I have the skin of a 19-year-old. But your hands are orange. Shut up and eat. A kid getting the hand-me-down, not liking the hand-me-down. Like, it hits on, like V was saying, I've never been in a situation where it was like hard times and stuff like that, but I did get hand-me-downs, but that's just because I'm one of 4 sons. And it just makes sense. It's like, hey, like, yeah, they could go spend more money, but it's like, but why? Like, you're just a kid. It doesn't really matter as much. I mean, when you got older, it's like, no, we'll let you go pick out your own clothes and stuff. And then, Nami starts being a little brat because she doesn't want them. She's like, we're not even real sisters. We're not related by blood. And it's like, oh, man. You got to imagine, like, hearing something like that as an adoptive parent, it's got to fucking cut you to your fucking core.
It's the one thing you're probably avoiding.
Yeah,
as much as you can. You know it's coming.
Yeah. It's like, you never want to hear it, though. And, gosh, she smacks the shit out of Nami for that one. It's like, and she's trying to be a good mom. It's like, it doesn't matter if we're related by blood or not. We love each other. We're a family. And then Nami's doubling down. It's a spoiled little brat. I mean, 8-year-old. It's 8-year-old behavior. It's like, I wish I'd be found by rich people with money. Aww. It's like, all right, you know what? Fine.
That hurt me.
That's what you want. I don't care what you do. Like, go somewhere else. Nami storms out, and then Bellemare feels bad, and she's like, oh, it's like... And, like, Nojiko seems to be, like, the more level-headed and mature child. Like, mature beyond her age, and it's just like... And she's like, hey, it's like, yeah, you're a good kid. It's like, that was childish, man. I shouldn't have been like that.
I think she is also older.
She is a bit older.
She's a couple years older. They say that.
Yeah, I think it's like, 3 years or something like that?
Yeah.
And you see it, like, you can tell that she loves these kids. She really does. Because after it happened, she immediately regretful. It's like, hey, you know what? Go bring her back home and I'll make sure to cook, like, her favorite meal or something for her.
My
and
heart.
then, of course, she goes to Genzo. And it's like, it's like, I ran away from home. And it's like, oh, wow. The outskirts of the center village. What a journey. And then Nami's starting to feel bad. She's like, well, she'd be happier with us because, like... She can't afford to pay for us. That's why it's so hard because we're with her. She'd be happier without us. I guess it's like bad bullshit. He kind of explains, it's like, you know what? All right, here's the backstory. And kind of like covers like how they came to the village and how they're like on the verge of death. It's like, no, take care of the kids. I don't care about me. Take care of the kids. It was really powerful. It's like when it's like, because we see here that she used to be a Marine at some kind of battle. I'm curious to see like. What was this battle? Where did this take place? What's the whole backstory of that battle? And it's like she was about to dive, and then Nojiko showed up with Nami in her arms. And like Nami's just a little girl, just giggling and cooing. And it's like at that point, she's like, "No, I'm going to survive for these kids. I'm going to fight and make sure these kids make it." And then, oh man, the shot of Arlong pulling up. Now let's be honest, that beach looks really nice. It's got some like umbrellas, some chairs, and then Arlong
does have some umbrellas and chairs.
Yeah. It looks like before they showed up, it's been slightly a bit of a tourist destination, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they probably completely ruined it because they're assholes, and I hate them.
That's what crime does to an area.
Yeah.
But I really love the like I've pretty much loved every single like shot of the ships we've been getting.
Oh, the Arlong ship?
Yeah, Arlong ship looks really cool. The figurehead's super dope.
I didn't notice the figurehead. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Well,
it's like
the sawtooth.
Yeah, it's like the upper jaw of the sawtooth shark or whatever. And then we get a little more backstory where like the people were like figuring out. It's like, oh god, it's the rumors are true. The fishermen pirates of the Grand Line have split up, and a group of them have come here. It's like, oh, okay, all right. And it seems like all the people were close to once they're bored of the Grand Line, they decide to settle down somewhere else and spread tyranny around the easier spots. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I've really got. I do again love that shot, and then Arlong on the stepping foot on the ground and be like, all right, humans, as of this moment. I don't know, like for some reason, like looking at it now, like thinking at it, it's like, oh, this is moment, this village, this whole island is under our rule, and like I get back to like Palpatine, where it's like the forming of the first galactic empire. It's like I got that vibe from it.
I was getting Poland vibes.
So. Nazi
well, I mean, yeah, I've been bringing up the Nazi imagery a lot, but
yeah, it's
true. I mean, Didn't help that one of them had no, it wasn't. It's not a swastika. It's what was it called? The manji or something?
The
Manji.
Manji. Manji.
Yeah. The square one.
But,
yes.
Not the diamond one. Yeah.
No SBS this time. Just some more drawings. And there's one of
I do like the fan submissions.
The one on the bottom left. It's like, wow, this 13-year-old has more artistic talent than I will ever possess in my life. And also, I love the Momu. Yeah, I love the Momu too. And the Nami one is really good because that's like,
which one? Top right?
The top right? Because that's really like, to me, that's like if Nami was drawn in the art style of Sailor Moon, like.
That, it's very with the bigger eyes.
The bigger eyes, yeah.
It's giving more shoujo for sure.
And Sanji one's pretty good too. One Piece Heartthrob Sanji. That's the thing. We're sitting there being like, oh, it's all written for boys. It's written for boys. But we see all these art. There's like, it's not a majority of them, but there's been females, and even in the SBS, there's been like obviously female people chiming in. Kind of crosses across all borders and genders. It's like just universally like. Accepted and popular, and
across time. Like we're enjoying this for the first time in 2024, but like this volume came out in like the early 2000s, I think.
Late 90s, early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, so it still holds itself up pretty well. It stands up to the test of time.
But that's all I got for this.
Yeah, so my first comment was about Zoro and V. You know how he falls asleep while Nojiko's trying to tell the story. V, don't you want a man who will listen to you? Isn't that important?
Oh, when you look like that, you ain't gotta listen. You just gotta look pretty.
I mean, so
Sanji would listen. That's all I'm saying.
I will say we're not gonna get into my whole past, okay? But good-looking men can get away with a lot. That being said, they might be good for a night or two, but they don't necessarily make good boyfriend material.
Fair.
And you have to know your value.
Yeah, I thought this chapter touched on themes such as poverty and how it impacts parenting and how it impacts family. I am a child of divorce. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but
it's not your fault, buddy.
That was me. Yeah, so I think some of the themes that they're touching on, I definitely have seen before. I love Belmere as a design from a design standpoint. I think her alternative look really emphasizes her naval/marine past. She's a soldier. I thought the whole explanation here of their past was beautifully done. Like, she hands her a hand-me-down, and at one point it says that the lion used to be a sunflower, and it's clear that it did. But Belmere took the time to adjust and alter this piece of clothing to make it a lion, and it literally says on it, "I'm a lion." Like, yeah. I could see myself trying to do something like that and just like, oh, this doesn't work, and then writing on it, lion. And I just thought that was...
Just to comment real quick on what you said, Michael, about her design. I think her past as a Marine shows in that she's not an especially feminine character.
Yes.
Like, she comes across as more masculine.
That's a good point.
But I enjoy that. Like, I feel like we have seen very feminine women thus far. Like, to me, Nami presents as a fairly feminine woman, and it's nice to see a more masculine presenting woman. I think it gives the sense of, like, variety of people and different kinds of people that make the world, right? So...
Yeah, absolutely. A lot about her exudes soldier, masculine. Yeah, I think it's great design there. I wasn't sure how obvious the author made it. I think there's something to be said for the treatment of veterans. Like, the fact that she's so poor and she served her government, blah, blah, blah. I think that's just an interesting real-life parallel. Yeah. Maybe I want to say that that's what Oda's going for, but I don't know. I can't read his mind. And then, yes, Arlong's ship was very cool. I'd love to have seen a side profile of it instead of just straight ahead. I want to see how the sails all are and the side of the ship.
That would have been interesting enough. At least a full page spread also. That could have been interesting.
Like Buggy got a full page. Yeah. His ship. But yeah, I thought that Nami and her family were wonderfully written with reality in mind. I thought there was a big reality check in all of this. And this chapter is not particularly exciting, quote unquote, But that's not always the point, and I think that's important. It doesn't have to be exciting. It was heartfelt, and it was well executed, and I enjoyed it. And 78 will be Dylan.
I do like the opening cover art where it seems like Usopp's like a street vendor is like a...
The caricature
caricature artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we start to, like, we've heard about the tribute that needs to be paid, but now we get hard figures for it. Usopp declares 100,000 berries for grown-ups, 50 for children.
You said Usopp.
Did I say Usopp? Damn, Arlong.
Yeah.
Sorry. But
they're the same person, pretty much.
Nose. Yeah. And he lays out to Scrooge, remember, only kill the ones that can't pay this time. It's like, hey, how much did we get? A little more than 25 million. It seems like a good scheme. It's a good scam to run. And you see some of the villagers starting to get a little uppity. And it doesn't seem like they found the orchard. Belmare and her household seem fine. Well, thank God. But then the fisherman's like, hey, we found this house on the outskirts. Oh, yeah, and they see the smoke in the distance because she's cooking a meal for the kids. And it's a nice little cooking scene. I like the cooking scene. I like, there's just something about, like, Japanese media and the way they do cooking. It's just comforting. I mean, I've told you guys.
Don't get to see any close-ups of the food.
I mean, you don't, but, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just the vibe you get from it. It's just great.
It's homey.
And, like, yeah, and I've told you guys hundreds of times, it's like, Delicious in Dungeon. It's something on Netflix. I've watched it several times.
I've yet to watch that. It's on my radar, though.
I've rewatched it, like, several times because it's just comforting. Like, there's something about it's like the way, like, you see them doing the food prep, the music they put behind it. I just love it. Like, the way Japanese culture, like, portrays the... And we've talked about in other episodes before. I think, V, you talked about it. It's like there's a lot of, like, respect and tribute paid to the art of cooking in that culture, and it's really cool to see. I also like, it's like, well, since I'm splurging, I might as well have a little sake, too. It's like, all right.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Damn, she can cook and she likes to drink. Damn.
Right?
Too late, though.
Oh, don't say that.
And then they start heading out there. And it seems like, you get, it's like he's looking for ocean charts. So I'm getting, I guess what I draw from that is, and also he's kind of wearing a stupid hat. Yeah, he's got a bucket hat on. Gross.
I like bucket hats.
I think they look stupid. I like boonie caps.
I think they're cute.
I think boonie caps are cool as shit.
I think they're very cute.
Then you hear Hard knocking at the door. She's like, oh, okay, they're home. But then I don't know, she's got that, it seems like she thinks there's something not right. And then it's like, oh, it's open, come on in. And Arlong opens the door and bam. A Sanji-ass kick right to the fucking kisser. And then gun to the face. And it's just like, oh, well, hard luck. I was a fighting sailor. Apart from the Grand Loan, eh? It's like, what do you want? And then, unfortunately, it's like you put the gun in Arlong's mouth. Maybe you should have put it against his forehead, because he bites the barrel off the gun. And then at this point, he's just like, he's pissed that somebody stood up. The villagers are kind of like intercepted the kids, like, don't go home, like, stop, like, don't, like, just don't. And at this point, he's kind of making an example out of her. It seems like he stomps on her arm, breaks her arm. You can tell she's, like, thinking to herself, she knows she's done for. She's like, I'm going to die. There's nothing I can do about it. Seems like her last thoughts for the kids. Genzo, and now like Genzo comes with the idea. It's like, well, they don't know how if you have kids, just pay for you, and we'll keep the kids hidden. You should be fine. You know, this seems like she might be able to get away with it. It's like village records, no marriage or births for her. Belmare, just I guess she's thinking it's like, you know, the jig's gonna be up at some point. They will find out. So she said, it's like 100,000 berries for my kids. 2 kids. That's all I got. And everyone's shocked. The kids are horrified. For her, it's like, sorry, I can't lie about it. I love my kids too much. There's no way I'm going to deny having my kids because I love my kids. Just you know, a little tear, a little misty-eyed. And then she says, and I feel like that's the way a lot of, like, good adoptive parents feel. Like, these kids are as much as mine as if I had given birth to them myself. Like, there's no way I could ever deny these children. Because Nochiko's not really reading the situation too well. She's like, oh, you were a soldier, right? You could beat them up. Yeah, you could take them. It's like, read the room. There's like 30 fishmen surrounding you. And her arm's been busted. And then Genzo's like, nah, fuck this. Pulls out some guns and starts blasting. Rayman, apparently his skin's impervious to bullets. Although with the onomatopoeia of clang clank, I originally assumed that he had deflected them with the sword. But you see the hit marks on his arm.
I think his little elbow fin may be just tougher than the rest.
And then we figured out why Genzo's covered in scars. Because he slices him up pretty good. At this point, they're like, no, everybody fight. Let's go. But this is Arlong's... From what we've seen, he's kind of keeping his temper in check from what we've seen from before. At this point, he's like, they're worthless. Like, you know, we're going to make money off them. So beat the shit out of them, but don't kill them. Tells Barrymore down. It's like, you're going to be our first example. Die for your foolish love. And then, I love you. Boom.
Aww.
And I don't think he shot her 3 times. It's like how, like, if it was in the anime, it'd make more sense, where it's like, it's the same shot being heard over, but everyone's reaction to it. And her last words are, I love you. Pretty heavy stuff. I think, I gotta say, this is probably, from what we've been through so far, this is the first, like, really heavy subject matter death that we've been, like, there's a lot of emotion behind it. Yeah, he did a good job. Like, you know, he made you feel things. You know, I don't tend to get too emotional, but it was very sad. Yeah, and I think he did a fantastic job of, like, covering the story of, like, a single adoptive mother trying to do everything she can for her kids, and eventually making the ultimate sacrifice. But that's all I got. Pete?
I'm barely holding it together. This chapter wrecked me, and it will wreck me now as I talk about it, and I promise I'm going to try my best to keep it together, but I might struggle. That was really hard for me to read and is really hard for me to revisit. So my first thoughts were, and I even put them in bold, my first thoughts were, no, please leave Ben-Maire alone. It's just, it's heartbreaking. Like, we start the chapter off and she's so happy with the meal that she's preparing. Like, I just know that she's hoping that this will be a meal, this will be food that will mend their misunderstanding. And it's just, I think what hurts me is the effort that goes into it, and knowing that something terrible is going to happen, and knowing that this effort will not be rewarded the way that she deserves it to be rewarded. I have to say, we have a really good shot at page 8. The half-page shot of Ben-Maire pinning Arlong down on the ground with the gun stuck in his mouth. Not only is it a badass move on her part as like a mama bear type of character, but the pose itself is just super cool. Like, the way it's drawn was fantastic.
Well, it exudes intent too, because I looked at that and I was like, she's on the verge of blowing your brains out if you don't say the right thing.
She will. Like given the...
She should have pulled the fucking trigger.
She really should have. And then we have kind of the turn of events where we see Arlong stomping on her arm, where you could see the movement of the foot, like, just crushing her arm, the blood, the crunch, onomatopoeia. Like, it was just, it really hit me right in the stomach. Like, I could feel that, that motion and that injury just resonate throughout my whole body. Similarly, the last corner of page 11 is also very poignant with Ben-Maire and Genzo's arms. And I had a little bit of a thought. It felt very religious. You know those statues of Jesus being taken down from the cross and being held in Mother Mary's arms? That's the vibe I was getting from seeing Genzo hold Ben-Maire in his arms like that, bloodied up and injured. Yeah, and then the rest of the chapter just honestly killed me. I started tearing up when she says that she's using the money for the girls instead of for herself. And it's not for the girls, it's for her daughters, right?
Yes.
And then... Okay, I need to keep it together. As I was reading it, started openly crying when you see this, like, beautiful half-page shot of her crying with the cigarette in her mouth, and she's smiling through the tears because she loves them both so deeply. And she does not hesitate. She does not hesitate 1 second to sacrifice herself, and that's when she said, "Those two are my children," and that just broke me. I think motherly love is something that I have personally yet to experience, but I have a lot of empathy. As someone that loves with her whole heart, it's unconditional. And I think it's something that, even though I think I can sort of try to wrap my head around, I don't think it's something I will experience until I have children of my own or until I adopt children. You know, like, it's something that is... It's like, to me, it's one of the deepest, most human emotions that one can experience is raising a child and ensuring their safety and their well-being and their security and doing whatever you can to preserve that and to ensure that they're safe and that they're happy. The ending was, it was powerful, it was effective, and it was just absolutely tragic. And in the last episode, Michael mentioned that One Piece toes the line between comedy and drama, which is true most of the time. But this was a tragedy. This was
the drama.
This was, yeah. This chapter was no joke. Like, and Dylan said something to that effect also. This is as dramatic and heartbreaking and heart-wrenching as we've gotten so far. And Oda did a fantastic job. The pacing was excellent. The writing was poignant. The quality of the art carried it beautifully. Like, to me, this was a superb chapter.
Belmere dies smiling because she knows that she's doing what she believes is right.
And she tells them, I love you. Like, and there is, how can I put this? There are instances in life where sometimes people will tell you that they love you and they don't really think it. But this is an instance of pure love. I'm amazed and surprised that we would have such depth of emotion in this type of publication. Like, and it's not just it's not as a criticism of Oda's writing and drawing so far. It's just, this is the most intense emotion I've felt reading a manga perhaps in my life. Like, it was, I think what got to me is that it was, her love had no motive other than just wanting to care for the girls. She wasn't looking for money or validation, or there was no intent there other than just loving them and making sure that they were okay. And it was so pure. I feel like this sort of brings everything else in perspective as far as what we know of Nami's backstory and her drive and her motivation for what she's doing and the actions she has taken this far. And it shines a big bright light on it, and you can see how you can see where this trauma stems from, and you can see how seriously wounded Nami is also throughout all of this. Yeah, just it really did me in. It really did me in. This chapter just, yeah, it destroyed
it's a fuck
me
you
in
up
the
chapter.
best way.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's all I had. Michael.
I don't think that I have anything to add that hasn't been said. Belmere's absolutely a badass. She stands on business. She knows what she's about. She knows what is important to her. And unfortunately for her, she comes toe to toe with someone who is stronger. And that's unfortunate for her because she's putting it all on the line for her children. She makes, Dylan said these exact words, and I wrote it down, the ultimate sacrifice, which is very, very touching. One thing I wonder is, did she have to? Because there's a point where Ginzo's like, yeah, right? You invited me and the doctor over. That's why there's the table set for 3. And even the town records go as far to prove that because they're not her biological children. There's no record of them. And I wondered if she had to. However, there is, and I imagine someone who is a mother may be thinking about the future. There's maybe a point where even if she lies about it today, tomorrow, the reality may come to bear. And at that point, there may be less forgiveness. There may be less understanding. Despite me thinking that maybe she could lie her way through this, we're talking, Arlong has been in this town for 8+ years, I think, something like that. And I see it very hard to keep that charade up. And I think Bellemere was maybe seeing the writing on the wall, so to speak. Yeah, this was an intense and emotional chapter.
I think to what you said, Michael, I think when faced with such potentially grave consequences, it is not a risk worth taking for her. I think for her it was a moment of, I'm confronted with this reality and I will lay the cards down because I do not want to risk my children's lives, even in the future.
Right. Right. And who knows what the future consequences may be compared to what is going on right now. I think that in her mind, it was a me now or all of us later.
My mind, the way I kind of took it is like, I was like, she couldn't lie to herself. There was no way that she could ever deny.
Yeah, I think there's a combination.
It's like, I can't ever deny that these are my children. These are my children. Like, I'm not going to lie about it because no, I can't.
Because I love them so much. They're my kids. Like, and I can't pretend like they're not. Yeah.
Now, a counterpoint to that thought is, should these children not have a parent now or not have a parent later? But the not have a parent later may also bring them into the fold. Do we all not die or not live later? Like, as far as we've seen Arlong, he's very upfront about what his intentions are. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised of a situation where he says, no, fuck you and your kids. I think that she incorporated that into her decision. That's my thoughts on 78. 79.
Just quick shout out to the SBS also that shows like the sketch.
The storyboard concept
where Belmer sticks that was
if
great.
I may,
I love seeing.
I'm glad you brought that up. The scene with Bellemere on top of Arlong with her gun in his mouth was a great panel. And I'm glad they did the story. I'm glad they showed the sketches of that because that was a strong panel.
I feel like they did her justice as a character.
Yes.
Like, you know how sometimes we've talked about, you know, the girl that fell down the stairs, how deaths are sometimes seen as cheap.
Yes.
This one was not. This death was meaningful and powerful, and
it meant something.
It mattered. Yes. Exactly. It mattered a lot, and I'm sorry, I keep choking up. It mattered a lot to the girls, right? And I feel like it drives. It does such a good job at explaining why Nami is doing the things she is doing and what her intent is, and kind of just clarifying all of the mystery that was kind of surrounding what was going on thus far with her. And it just, like, this is how you do it. This is how you do a character death and how you honor the character through it. Through
life, yeah. And I think the previous chapter, like in retrospect, this really framed that in a very special light.
Yeah. It all makes in the context of the volume, it fits in perfectly.
Yeah, that's all I have for 78. 79 is V.
Okay, I need to get my
get your shit together.
My shit together. I need to gather myself. Yeah. Yeah, because 78 was no fucking joke. 79 is a lot shorter for me, which that's good because my heart can only take so much. I feel like actually the chapter started off really well with that more detailed art style. We have the callback to Benmar and the girls when they were small. I felt like that it was very bittersweet to see the end of such a relevant and important character and then have it reframed again as this motherly, kind, loving presence in the girl's life. It added a little bit of salt to the wound, but it was still, I thought that was really good in terms of the storytelling. And then, we get the fantastic 2-page art spread right afterwards, which is, again, just delightful and absurd to see all those characters that way. I wrote down, shout out to the bear, lion, panther, whatever the animal is. I think
it's a panther.
She's like laying on the head of the animal, and it has a bunch of bottles in its mouth. I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Zoro riding the other one.
My thought is like, hey, Usopp, keep that gun.
Just keep that one and use it. Let go of the slingshot. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I too needed a drink after the previous chapter.
Also, the chapter's title is To Live, and I think that's a powerful, like, 2-word title.
For sure.
After what we've seen. What does it mean to live?
It really is. Well, I think that's exactly what drives Nami, right? Like, this is the moment that changes everything for her. The fallout of that event is what decides what Nami's life goal is, in essence, right? And I think that's what she has dedicated her life to, and I feel like in that sense the name of the chapter is very appropriate. Arlong is a fucking sociopath. Let's just put it out there in the open. Stealing the sea charts wasn't enough, but he wants to kidnap the kid too? Big yikes.
As a pirate, having a skilled map maker who knows that.
I know, but she's 10 years old.
Yeah. Well,
she's a child.
Press her to like galley slavery.
You just killed her mother. You're a fucking sociopath, Arlong. I'm sorry. There is no excuse.
That's trafficking.
Not defending it. I'm just saying it.
No, I
sense.
understand, but
yes, he's a piece
fuck
of shit.
him, right? This is the moment where I really started hating Arlong, to be fair. And then we get the explanation as to why Genzo has scars all over where he's being, slashed open as he's trying to defend Nami in that moment. I have to say I did like seeing the whole village kind of mobilizing and getting ready to go and save Nami. In a way, it's a little bit, I don't want to say ironic, because I feel like in a way the sentiment that the village has for Nami maybe has changed a little. Like they all understand why she's doing the things she's doing, but I don't think they like the way she's going about it. But in that moment, you really feel that sense of they all want to rally together and save her and make sure that she remains safe and that she doesn't have to sacrifice her whole life to deal with the fallout of the events that just happened with Ben Maya. I don't know how I feel about Nami's choice. I sat with it for a while, honestly, kind of trying to tear it apart to be able to analyze it. I kind of got to the conclusion that I'm not equipped to judge that decision.
Fair.
I've never experienced anything even remotely close to that. I never will, probably. And maybe she could have approached it in a different way. But first and foremost, we're talking about a 10-year-old. Her brain is not fully developed. Like just objectively, she's maybe not equipped to make that decision by herself in that moment. And then furthermore, it's not something that was fueled by pure logic. Like, this was fueled by grief and survival. And I don't know that in her position as a 10-year-old that was just faced with that, I don't know that I would have done anything different. Like, I truly don't know. And I can't blame her for not considering her every single option, because I don't think that she was in a position to. I think it was also a really good display of children having to be adults when maybe they like, we don't want 10-year-olds to be making decisions like these. Like, we don't want 10-year-olds to be in a situation where they have to put their whole lives on the line and make every decision based off of this horrible event that happened to them.
The possibility of life or death,
right? Like, it's horrible. And I think, again, I come from a place of privilege when I was 10 years old, all I had to worry about was making sure that I caught the Pokemon I wanted to on Pokemon Blue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I cannot even fathom this. But unfortunately, there are children that have to grow up very, very fast due to very unfortunate circumstances in their lives. Again, I feel like this is a manga. This is fiction, but it also deals with very real themes, and it does so pretty well. Like, so far, I'm pleased with the way Oda approaches these subjects, because he does...
This was not tacky. This was not heavy-handed.
Exactly. It was very realistic while still being within the context of a fantasy/fictional world, right? But the emotions themselves are very genuine and very real. And I think that's honestly kind of admirable from Oda. And honestly, I have nothing but praise for the past couple of chapters that we've had. Yeah, that's about all I had for 78. For 79, it caused me to reflect a lot. And I feel like, what I was saying about children kind of having to take on the role of an adult is perfectly captured when Nami says at the very end, "I'm not going to cry anymore. I've decided to fight on alone." Like, you're 10, baby girl. Like, you shouldn't have to say that, but you do have to, and it hurts, and it just tears me apart.
Yeah, happens all the time.
It happens all the time. Yeah, Dylan nailed it.
I'm 14. I've got 4 jobs because I have to help provide for my family.
Yeah. And, like, I don't want to get too too personal and too deep, but I know like my own father, his dad passed away when he was 13, and he had to be the man of the house from a very, very early age, and I know what it did to him. And so I think I relate that fictional experience to something, as Dylan said, that is very real. Anyway, that's what I had for 79. It was kind of the end of this flashback and kind of the end of this explanation with regard.
It was the bow on top. It was, who are you going to be after seeing this happen? Because they had to watch it.
Exactly. And that changed them forever. Dylan?
It's kind of fun, the first page. It's kind of like, after the gut wrench they gave you, they kind of gave you a little bit. It's just like, oh, and like, how cute. This is how they lived. And like, now it's like, you incorrigible, you little thief, let me go. I'll pay you back later with kisses. I'm a wink.
Yeah,
it's
she's
like,
learning from her mama.
Yeah.
So again, I see the prostitution thing. I think it's more just because, I mean, everyone's probably met someone who's like, they're very attractive. They know they're very attractive, so they shamelessly like flirt to kind of get more of what they want out of the scenario.
And then the children pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing. It's like a monkey see, monkey do is definitely something with children. They for whatever reason, like you look back on as a child, like when you were a child, it's like you just wanted to grow up. You wanted to be an adult. And now that we're adults, we're like, fuck, no, this sucks ass. I want to go back. Let me go back. But like, it's interesting to see. I also love it's like, oh, did you make the two boys cry again? They made us mad. And the mom's like, oh, it's fine. It's just a little scuffle. Kids will be kids. And it's like, they say your tangerines taste like crap, and then Belmare goes out and like fucking punches one of them in the head.
Yeah.
So you rotten little shit. And then like the good advice, Nijiku Nami, don't ever lose to anyone. Girls have to be strong.
We kind of touched on that during the Kuina thing. I think V specific, it was like, it's different for women.
It is. There's no denying that.
Just not the same standards. And I'm not going to get on my feminist soapbox. As much as I empathize also with, like, men also have wildly different things that they have to deal with in society, but there's...
So the stigmas they have put upon them are
exactly
ridiculously overbearing as well.
Every gender or gender presenting, like whatever you identify as, everyone has struggles associated with that. And it's all bullshit, to be honest. But there are some ways in which, you know, women have a much harder time with, and I feel like that's
exactly what she was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people are just gonna look at you and put you as down and out, and you gotta prove them wrong.
They're gonna put you in a box immediately.
You gotta be like, fuck this box.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like you got the gut wrench, and then it's like, oh, this is adorable, and then it cuts you right back to gut wrenching again, where the cigarette as a metaphor for her life was snuffed out in her own blood. That hit big for me. I was like, oh shit. Damn. Oh, you know what you're doing. The advice of don't worry about what anyone says. Whatever happens, never lose your ability to laugh. If you can survive, then happy times, lots of them will come your way. Something I try and tell myself every fucking morning.
Right.
And then Arlong's like, being a piece of shit. It's like, anyone who can't pay is gonna die.
I hate him.
Yeah. And again, like, not defending the whole, like, you know, child slavery or anything like that, but trying to take over a local area. You fucking got a child prodigy who's drawing very accurate, detailed ocean charts.
Leave her alone. She's 10.
It makes sense. It was like, all right. Yeah, it's like, all right. Take her with them. We're taking her with us. And, like, seeing this whole interaction and, like, Genzo, like, fuck that, leave him here. I'm getting slashed up. Kind of, like, lets you realize why, like, it kind of, like, adds some strength to why Arlong was just like, no, you will not have weapons. Because you have used them against me before, and you were, no, not gonna happen. So seeing that, I was kind of like, still a piece of shit. But seeing that, it's like, okay, well, there's a little justification behind it. And again, Nami, just like taking on the responsibility a child never should. Being like, stop, it's okay, don't try and help. I don't want anyone else getting hurt for me. And then Arlong, again, showing a little bit of restraint, which is, from what we've seen him, not something he does, but like here he's being a little more strategic. I guess he's just now setting the footwork of his empire, so he's being a little more lenient. It's like, not too rough. There are cash cows.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because we do see that change. You know, we see him become more ruthless, even though I don't want to say that everything that came before was not absolutely ruthless.
I think the intent changes from that moment on.
Yeah. Well, look, it's at this point, it's like, I've already made a lot of money off of you, so at this point, if you're going to stand up, I've got money. The money's not the issue anymore. So if you're going to stand up, I will snuff you out because I've got the money.
You are a luxury to me.
Yeah. And then they kind of go over. It's like they sank all of our ships. Genzo kind of lets you see how the world foresees the government, because it's like our plan. They sank off our boats. Our plan to have Nami and Nojiko escape to sea, and Genzo cuts in was folly, and the Navy isn't doing anything about this problem as usual. That's so seems like the government of this world is super corrupt, and either it's extremely bureaucratic where it takes forever for anything to ever get done, or it's they don't care unless there's some
Probably a combination of both.
Yeah,
it's like they don't care unless there's some kind of payout for them. They're not going to get off their asses. To this point, like the village people are like, no, fuck this. They took Nami. We're done. Like, we're going to fight. I don't care if we die. We're going to fight. Genzo's like, no. Like, the only people strong enough to take them on are the Navy of the Grand Line. It seems like they don't have faith in the government at all.
That's their only option, they feel.
Yeah, their only hope is the government will get off their ass. Nami comes striding back in. Lets everybody know it's okay. I'm going to be their navigator. I'm going to draw them charts. And they're giving me money. Well, then they're just like, wait, why are you doing this? Did they threaten you? Like, what did they do? Like, what did they do to you? What do you do? And she's like, no, stop, no. Let go. And then, God, a 10-year-old getting a tattoo. Although, there are trashy parents out there. I've seen a baby with pierced ears.
Oh,
so
that's not trashy.
Anyway. I have thoughts on that. I had my ears pierced when I was 3 years old without my consent. I'm a big proponent of consent.
But I think it's extremely trashy. Sorry. I was like, look, they gave me this money. They said they'll buy me anything I want. And Nojiko, not a fan. Nojiko was getting ready to beat some ass.
Well, she has that big sister instinct, right?
Yeah. And she's like, I don't care. It's like, I don't want to be decent. I'm tired of being... I don't care. Bellemare tried to live a decent life and she got killed for it. I don't want to be decent. It's like, damn. That's the thing. She's a kid. That's how kids perceive this kind of shit. So it's like, oh, you were like, because especially, I feel like in like extremely impoverished areas where it's like someone like, for example, some son watches their dad go to work every day. Like, well, let's just say coal mining. Goes to coal mines every single day. Crack of dawn to like 10 o'clock at night. Dog tired all the time. Barely making it up to scrape by and eventually dies tired. And they're like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. He's miserable. Why would I do that? And that's why I think that's where a lot of sometimes like our young kids getting into crime kind of comes from.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they see that and they're like, no, he's unhappy.
Yeah.
He's unhappy. He's so miserable. I don't want to be miserable.
The easy way out, Dylan. That is a great...
And when that's issue, that's another thing. It's like an outside influence. Like, well, you don't want to be a chump like your dad, do you? And you can make what he makes in a week, in a day, if you're willing to smash up a store and steal shit. And it's
Dylan's hitting on some real shit.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and the fact that Oda's able to just like put this out there, just like really like as a 13-year-old kid reading this, you'd be like, whatever, mom died, she's upset. Whatever, I get it. But like as adults looking at this, it's like holy shit, like he kind of gets it. Like
yeah,
and
I don't
again,
think reading that as like a teenager or a young,
it wouldn't have made sense.
It wouldn't have gotten me the same way it did now.
But reading as an adult, it's like, holy shit, Oda, you've done immense amounts of research. Like, this is psychology right here. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, it's crazy. Nojiko's just like, I can't let you do that. Why would you do that? It's so wrong. You can't do that. She sacked her life for us. And then Genzo's just like, don't even bother. It's like, you know what? Nami, leave. Never come back. You could tell. Just that panel right next to it, just that breaks that poor little girl's heart. And then another hard-hitting line. What stupidity. She doesn't even consider Bellemare to be her mother. And Nojiko's like, no, that's bullshit. I don't believe that. She loved Bellemare. Child psychology stuff. It's like, hey, like sees her at the grave. It's like Bellemare used to say, if you could just survive, someday lots of good times will come your way. It's another thing. It's like, hey, you gotta be careful what you say to kids.
Oh,
you
yeah.
really do, because the shit sticks. Which makes me kind of thankful I'm not a parent. Because that's like some stupid off the cuff shit without even thinking about it, and that can really fuck
Parenthood changes people, though.
I mean, it does, but it's like without even intending, you could really like.
Well, I know
fuck your
parents
kids
that have
up.
done the best that they could and still ended up somehow, instilling some sort of trauma in their children, even without wanting to, just because.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it trauma, but like something that sticks out to me, like I remember I wasn't a kid. I was like in my teens. I was on my high school wrestling team. Like, I was just sitting there talking with my dad one day, and it was like, hey, it's like your oldest brother, he's got the build to be a really fast guy. Your second older brother, it's like, oh, he's built to be a very strong guy. He's like, you're in the middle, you're meant to be strong and fast. It was like, it really complimented me. It's like your physique, like your wrestling, it's like watching you wrestle, it's like all this stuff. It's like, it's really impressive. Like you have the ability to do some shit people in your division aren't going to be able to do because you're big, but you're fast. And like, so I was like, oh, thanks, Dad, thanks so much. And then later, like my older brother came up to me, and he was like my oldest brother. He immediately told me after that, he had heard the conversation. He told me, he's like, yeah, just so you know, he was drunk. That's the only reason he said any of that stuff. And that stuck. It's not like trauma.
And no, it is trauma.
And it's okay to
the fact
acknowledge
that,
it.
like, fact that you are still thinking about it, and the fact that it still impacts you to this day is trauma. And some people's trauma is a lot worse than others, but your trauma
That's
is
why
still
I'm not calling
valid.
it trauma. But
And
like
that's okay.
you figure out your ways to learn with it. Like I've grown from it.
Well, yeah.
It's an example. Like I said, it's one of those things. Kids are very impressionable. This shit sticks. And the story I get was I wasn't a kid. I was a teenager at that point. But and then like after that, I love it's like after I was taken to their ship, 5 Navy ships came to capture Arlong. He sank them all. And it's like, oh, the Navy did get off their ass. But it's like at this point, the Navy's like, no, but it is not. It's going to be a battle of attrition, and that is not what we're for. So, bye-bye East Blue. And again, the thing of, like, taking up the mantle of having to be an adult before your time. It's like, if they send more ships, they'll sink them too. It's up to us to help ourselves. It's like, fuck. Shit. And then she gives the whole scheme. It's like, buy back the village for 100 million berries. Like, it makes me respect the shit out of Nami. Like, before, I've kind of been like, but this backstory is like, no, she's strong. She's a very strong person.
Oh, yeah.
And the final, I'm not going to cry anymore. I've decided to fight on alone. Powerful shit. Traumatic, because you're thinking, again, it's a child, and a child's like, I will no longer look for help from anyone else. I will deal with my problems myself. It's sad, but you know.
When my dad's father passed away, he found out because the priest of the town came to the house to announce that my grandfather had passed away. My dad was the first kid he saw. He was playing on the lawn. And he told him, your father's dead. You can't cry. You're the man of the house now. And
that's a Catholic thing.
Oh,
though.
yeah, it's a Catholic thing. But like,
well, Catholic
to this
most of the
day,
times.
my dad is, and he'll never listen to this, but my dad is 63 years old now. To this day, I see how deeply this has impacted him as a person. To be told that he was not allowed to cry because he needed to be the man of the house. Like that
touches on the stigmas we were talking about earlier. It's like, well, women are down, but men are given,
also,
you're not allowed to
yeah.
be emotional. You have to be the provider.
For sure. Kudos to Oda for just making this...
Opening this fucking can of worms.
Right.
It's like, oh, you've unzipped me! I'm glad I'm reading it now. Because I do understand the gravity of it. This is a 13, 12-year-old. Like, this is fucking boring. I don't care. When is Luffy gonna punch stuff again? But that is all I got.
The cover art was good. There was a flashback sequence that was narrated, and I kind of touched on this, I think it was last volume, where Sanji was leaning back on his chair thinking of all that Zeph has done for him, all of the good and bad and indifferent moments he had there. I love those cinematic moments. This was Bellemere narrating a flashback for I think it was Nami. I'm not even gonna look. It doesn't matter who narrated it. You see her life flash before her eyes. Like, you need to live. You need to prove that life is worth living, that things will get better. And that's important. And it doesn't always get better, but you have to try for those moments. And that, I think, is important. I liked seeing Ginzo. He's standing up for his people. He has a pinwheel on his head, which I think makes him kind of silly. But again, that's one piece. It's that silliness with
it's like, this is some heavy shit. I gotta give you something to giggle about.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a great combination of something that will, one, get young people to pay attention, and two, will make a lasting impact. There was a scene where Arlong was walking away after the damage was done. I think it was Genzo's hat was flying in the air. There was a shot of the town. It was small panels, but I think they hit. And then, last thing, Nami said, I don't care. Bellemere died trying to be like a decent person. I don't want to be decent. And I thought that was a really powerful line. She saw what she saw. She understood what she understood. And that's childhood. You don't control what stays with you. You don't have that kind of choice. And yeah, as we can see who Nami is and became, that lasted. So out of the 3 flashbacks, I thought this resolution kind of flashback was my favorite. I thought it really resolved what we saw in a very meaningful way. Nami deciding to fight. I use the word fight loosely. She's deciding to live. She's deciding to fight every day.
Yeah.
You know? She's doing that for her friends. She's doing that for her family especially. And it was a great way to wrap up the flashback with hope and optimism that as long as you fight, as long as you try, there are good times ahead. And that's the ideal, but it's not always true. Sometimes you can fight till the day you die and nothing will get better, but you have to try. So,
but those moments of joy make it all worth it.
Yes.
Keep your chin up there, listeners. It'll get better.
But it's okay. Like, I just want to stress it to our listeners that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Like,
yeah,
it's okay to struggle.
It's definitely okay to let people know that you're not okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
In our day and age, people tell you it's not. But, like, mental health is the epidemic that's fucking over, especially in America. Sorry.
Everywhere, but yes, especially in America, but still everywhere.
All that's to say, it's okay to feel like things suck because sometimes they do. There is hope, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to go ahead and push us on to chapter 80, and I think that's done.
All right. And then, all right, we're finally cut out of the 2 chapters, flashbacks within flashbacks. And then, like, after seeing this, like, you see why Natsuko kind of reacted the way she did to that child. Because she's seen what her sister, as a child, resolved herself to do. Instead of just giving up and throwing her life away, she's like, no, there's a way I can fight. I'm going to fight. God, fucking Sanji. I'm really starting to see, Michael, the conversation we had where, like, he's getting really simp-esque behaviors. I was like, oh, he made my darling Nami suffer. I shall beat him
Sanji.
to death. And then she goes over the plans, like, all right, this is where I'm going to hide all my cash. I'm gonna get it. I'll buy it back. Everybody's going to be happy. Everyone's going to love me again. I was kind of sad. It's like, we'll be free of the line. We'll be free of Arlong at last, and then Belmare, I'll finally be able to laugh from my heart.
Oh.
That was a bit of a gut wrencher. It's like, god damn. You see Genzo leading the Navy members. So what's the Navy want with Nami? And he's like, yep. Laughing like a little piece of shit. I'm only saying that because I know what's coming. Fucking Luffy. The only thing he thinks of is like, oh, the Navy's here. I'm a pirate. I should be worried about it. It's like, why's that guy got a pinwheel on his head? That sticks out to him. Yeah. Which I will admit, we needed that. Mm-hmm. We really, really needed that. Thank you, Luffy. And then they show up. And then he's introduced to Captain Izumi of Navy Base 16. Are you Nami the thief?
He's not here for her.
I was like, but a thief is a thief. The loot belongs to the people who was originally stolen from. Therefore, you must surrender it to us, the government. Fuck that.
I'm so angry.
Fuck that. I pay my taxes, but I'm not happy about it. And good for Nami. She sees them like kicking in the door to start looking for loot. She lays one of them motherfuckers out. And she makes good points. Like, don't you have anything better to do? Arlong's crew has murdered hundreds and destroyed whole villages. He's enslaved everyone on this island. You're going to ignore those atrocities to see the loot of one petty thief? Is that how the government works? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why there's a law. If you're carrying over $10,000 worth of cash, you're allowed to be arrested. Look it up on some YouTube shit. There's some rabbit holes about it, and it's really fucked. So anyways, they take the money. Arlong will have your ship. Arlong, oh, I doubt that very much. And then that's when Nami's like, oh, shit. And then he fucking throws out the number. It's like, oh, you're saving up 100 million berries. They're like, wait, how do you know? And then Nami's just like, son of a bitch. Arlong has stabbed me in the back. Got a line of government officials shooting on civilians. Nojiku gets a gut shot. At this point, Nami's pissed. She's going to confront Arlong. Luffy's just kind of, he's kicked back. Sees everybody's getting stirred up and he's like, yo, what's going on? Can I help? And Nami's just like, you're still here. I want nothing to do with you. Now get off this island. And then throws his ass to the ground. At this point, she's out for blood. She's going to kill Arlong. She confronts him. It's like, you sent the Navy to steal my treasure. How dare you? You always said you'd die before you break your promise. Huh? What promise did I break? Don't treat me like a fool. You sent the Navy to steal my money. When did I ever break my promise? Tell me. Piece of shit. Yep.
Look at that fucking panel.
Yeah, that's a great panel. Because it's like, I didn't break my promise.
Yeah.
I fucked you over. But I didn't do anything. I didn't break the promise. But that's all I got. This is like these last 2 chapters for me. Like, especially, like, I won't go too far into it. The next chapter was just like, holy shit, let's get this recording done. I need to read more.
Yes. Dylan touched on it. The beginning of the chapter really does shed light on what we spoke about during the last episode when we were trying to figure out why Nojiko was so harsh on the kid and who she was talking about when she mentioned a child who faced a life worse than death and chose to live anyway. Now it is very clear to us that Nami was that child and she chose a life of basically servitude to Arlong to prevent others from suffering. I will say, for the record, I do still think that Nojiko could have been a little bit more gentle with Chabo, but I kind of get that it's a sore point for her. Like, I get it. Now it's understandable. Not necessarily excusable, but understandable. It's extremely powerful because it explains so much. of who Nami is as a person. And it also explains why Nami clearly has attachment issues. Having friends only gets in the way. It gets in the way of her goal, and we have seen it in this volume, how her friends are kind of throwing a wrench in her plans, right? Like, they're interfering, even though I know that she knows that she cares for them. Yeah, I get what Nojiko is saying when she reminds the Straw Hats to not blow her cover, basically, so to speak. Because it matters. What she's doing matters, even though it took us a while to kind of get to that explanation. Now that we do know, it makes sense. As I was watching Nami reflect on how far she's come and how she only has 7 million berries to go, I got that sinking feeling in my stomach that something was gonna go wrong with her stash.
It's like I've read enough things to know where this is going.
I hated that was even a possibility because she does not deserve that kind of injustice. Like, she has already suffered enough. And I had hoped so much that I was wrong, but I was not. I was entirely correct. And yeah, Dylan touched on it. I love that the main thought on Luffy's mind when witnessing an obviously tense situation is, how come that guy has a pinwheel on his head? And like, how very Luffy of him, right?
Yes.
Don't
And
ever
we
change
do
Luffy.
we do rely on him a lot for comic relief, and as Dylan said, we needed that in that moment. We needed to be like, okay, a little bit of a breath of fresh air, a little bit of lightheartedness, because we've just been through shit, guys. Like, the past couple of chapters were not easy, and even now, we're not out of the woods, is all I'm gonna say. Like, we're getting kind of to the plot twist with the Marines or in the Navy, whatever. I'm not sure how you make the distinction in English. But that plot...
The Navy's the branch, the Marines are the soldiers of that branch.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. And that plot twist, like, did not stop, and it bitch slapped me twice. Like, it completely caught me off guard. At first, I was both in complete shock and also sadly not surprised at all that the government is who would basically swoop in and take the money back from a woman who's trying to save a village. She's doing more for the community than the government is and ever will, let's be honest. And then they want to take the loot. Like, I was so angry. And listen, I'm not an anarchist, but this
sound like a commie to me, no?
This made me very upset at kind of the state of the government in this world, and also how it reflects into our current reality. I have issues with the institutions, not necessarily the people, but the institutions that govern this modern Western world, but that's okay. We don't need to get into it today.
We've delved into enough heavy topics.
Yeah, right. Let's keep that for another day, maybe. We find out that they're even more corrupt than I initially thought, and that Arlong is who orchestrated the whole thing. I just honestly lost all faith in humanity. It's honestly terrible and unfortunately very real and very relatable. And just the very last page of this chapter was truly and deeply haunting for me. You can see how absolutely unhinged Arlong is in the way that he's drawn. We have the evil laughter all over the page. And you just know that if he so chose, he could just crush Nami's face in an instant. But he's keeping her alive.
You say unhinged? I kind of look at him as more like, yes, he's an evil, conniving son of a bitch. But motherfucker's really smart.
He knows he's
knows,
calculated.
I think
very
by
calculated, knows how to
unhinged,
manipulate.
I think he's very purposeful in what he's doing, but I feel like within the parameters of what his intent is, he's limitless. Like his villainy knows no bounds. Okay. That's kind of what I mean. Like, but I do agree. Maybe I'm not choosing my word.
No, it's just when I think
accurately.
unhinged, I think like crazy.
Right. But I think that within the context of what he wants to do, he is...
There's nothing he won't do.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay.
That's exactly what I meant. Yeah. And yeah, just seeing his hand over Nami's face, and like, I know that if he wanted, he could just crush her skull.
But she made him like 93 million berries.
Yeah. But he's not going to do it. I did not expect this. I will say, like, just general thoughts. I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but, like, I did not expect this. from this manga at all. I was completely caught off guard. And
Yeah, motherfucker knows how to deal with some delicate topics.
and he makes a good villain, because I thought Kuro was a good villain. This is a really good villain.
Yeah, his villains have gotten so much better.
Oh yeah. Well, I think what gets to me is that he presents them in the way, like, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying initially, is that I can't really take him seriously because he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sandals. You know, like, he makes them kind of weirdly...
Those are the evilest motherfuckers in the world.
Approachable in a way. Like, he gives them a human aspect, but then he flips it around and makes them... and shows how evil they actually are. And if that's not a reflection of reality, I don't know what is. Like, not to make all of the listeners, like, paranoid, but, you know, just watch your back. I didn't have much in the way of detail with regards to chapter 18. It was just, I feel like my general emotions are kind of carrying me through the end of this volume because I have so many of them. But yeah, like, he is not to be fucked with at all. And then just in the corner, there's Luffy, like, what's her problem?
Yo, what's she being so mean? I'm just trying to help.
Jesus Christ, Luffy. Oh,
don't act like you haven't had, like, well, we all have had a friend where it's like, I'm just trying to help. Like, what do you, like, why are you treating me this way?
Anyway, that's what I had for 80. Michael?
All right. So, I thought this whole chapter was very well done and had me on edge from beginning to end, seeing how this was going to play out. Again, I've read all this before, but it's been long enough to where it still had me thinking, what comes next? The finer details really highlight the tension. And I thought this was interesting because everyone knows something different. I think it's a clash of what everyone knows. Genzo, the whole time he's known what Nami's goal is. The Navy knows that Arlong ordered this whole thing, and Nami is caught completely off guard. She knows what she knows. She knows that she's working hard to get to her goal, and everyone else knows more than her. And it's sad. She's enraged. She takes out at least 2 Marines, I think maybe even 3 with her staff. And it's just all reveals. They're revealing new information left and right. And it's so intense. The confrontation only grows from there. There's even guns pulled out, and Nojiko takes a stray shot. And Luffy's there, and he has no idea. And I think it's a beautiful kind of foil to what's going on. He's here to help, but he doesn't understand really the depth of what he's currently in. Yeah, there's another, like, I call it a flash cut. It's like a flashback / cut with dialogue interspersed when Nami's running town and the voices of, I think it was Bellamere or Nojiko, I think it's Bellamere, are echoing in her head. Yeah, okay, so Arlong, it's in her head, it's Arlong, I'll get you Arlong, and then Arlong's voices, you want your village so back, little girl? You want your village back so badly, little girl? Very well, bring me 100 million berries, and it just interspersed with her running, anger, emotion, and it's just so well framed. The look in her eyes tells the whole story. And if you move on to when she's actually confronting Arlong, and she's trying to hold back everything, but Arlong has his hand.
It's very
on
cinematic
her mouth.
Again. Like, if we're talking about the
Yes.
scenes being cinematic, that absolutely is a sequence of events like that.
Right. And you could take the dialogue away, and I feel like I would still understand every bit. And then the last frame, Luffy, relaxed. What's her problem? I think just really gives the foil here. And we are chugging along, but just in sum, we are charging towards our inevitable climax at this point. The reveals in this chapter were gripping and engaging. It was done so well. The rising action was palpable, and I can feel the stress and frustration. Great chapter. Then 81.
Take us home, V.
V.
Okay, we're wrapping this one up, guys. The last chapter of this volume, number 81, titled Tears. There were many of those. for me when I read the volume. The intro image for this chapter really did pull at my heartstrings. It was very bittersweet to see them all together again and seemingly indulging in a good meal. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe that's the meal that she wanted to prepare for the girls. Because we know that it was not easy to come by for them. Also, just shout out to the dog. I love dogs. Very.
I love that she gives him a glass. I love that she gives him a glass of water.
I know, and he's just eating some spaghetti. So yeah, very, very bittersweet, but also just a nice memory to hold on to in an otherwise kind of very sad volume in many ways.
Oh, she's wearing the I'm a Lion shirt.
The what?
The hand-me-down shirt. She's wearing the I'm a Lion shirt.
Oh yeah, that she is. Oh my god, she is.
Also, that seagull smoking a cigarette.
I have a comment here, and my note says, "That Marine guy is a piece of shit. I don't recall his name, and he doesn't deserve that I remember it." Something Mizumi? Anyway, can't remember exactly, but he sucks and I hate him. Oh, Jesus. There's so much despair in Nami's face on the bottom left corner of page 5. Just when she's saying, "You've got to stay alive or we'll all have been for nothing." I feel like Oda captured the emotion really well in the way that he drew her in that moment. And just, previously she's just running, and this is it. Like, for her, this is it. This is the make it or break it moment. And you can tell that by the way that she's drawn and the way the emotion is being captured. I really like Genzo as a leader. I like the way that he engages with the villagers, how he encourages them and supports them and does what's best for the community as a whole. He's strong, he's courageous, he's protective, and I really appreciate him as a character, and even more so as a side character. I think that there's a lot of depth that has been put into him. And it was honestly so heartwarming when we see him hugging Nami and telling her that she's done enough and that she fought well. Just that validation, I think, could not have come at a better moment. And I feel like that meant everything to Nami. And it just solidified how I already felt about him. I was really impressed. The way this chapter kind of unfolds, I think, was really masterfully done. Like at page 11, the bottom of page 11, where you see Nami kind of gearing up for what she's about to do next, with like the background of Arlong laughing maniacally, and her and the shot of her tattoo, and just like the rage that she's feeling against him is such a good build-up for page 12.
God, that is great.
Which page 12, I was so impressed by it. I had so many different feelings and emotions. At first I was cringing really hard, just seeing, like, physically cringing, like not cringe as in like the embarrassing kind of cringe, like actually cringing. When Nami cut at the tattoo on her shoulder, it was, again, a very visceral reaction, because I feel like that was kind of her...
I'm fucking done with you.
Exactly.
Moment.
This was her moment of, I cannot do this for you anymore. You have broken everything that was still alive inside me, and I resent you for it. Then I felt such a wave of relief when we see Luffy behind her holding her hand back. And in a way it feels so pure, because I don't think he has any idea of how meaningful the action actually is. I don't think he knows how much she needed that on a deep human personal level. He's picking up her pieces.
Yeah, it's like you're a friend of mine. I see that you're struggling. Let me shoulder that burden for you. Yeah, let me stop you from your let me help you through your suffering. Let me stop you from inducing even further suffering. Like it was just, and I feel like it kind of someone that was not don't hesitate to reach out to your friends.
Right,
your friends for a reason.
Really. I feel like if someone were not to pay attention to this chapter, it could have gone unnoticed, because it's just this one page, really. But it is immensely impactful. Just the sequence of how it works with the shot of the tattoo, her stabbing at it, and then Luffy holding her hand back. It means everything to her in that moment.
I feel like it's her coming to the realization. It's like, no, I'm allowed to have friends.
She can't do this alone. That's exactly it.
And I can't with this volume, you guys. Like, I nearly cried again at pages 14 and 15, which we just saw in the little anime clip that Michael showed us. I feel like Oda perfectly captured the essence of what I've come to love about One Piece. Nami is in real emotional and physical pain here. She's crying, like an unapologetically ugly cry too, with the tears and the snot, just begging, like actually begging Luffy to help. And he just grabs his hat, his most prized possession, puts it on her head and shouts, "Okay."
The power behind that is fucking immense.
Ooh,
And he does.
I had
He
chills.
shouts that in the most openly comical way, but it's, again, it means everything in that moment. It's beautiful. It was magnificent. It was drama and comedy hand in hand, and that is amazing. And then I just loved seeing the three other boys ready to go, ready to take on this huge task, ready to put
Like,
their
they
lives...
knew it was coming. They were just waiting.
They're just ready to put their lives on the line for Nami, who they still consider one of their own, despite everything that has transpired so far. I feel like Nami might be struggling with the idea that they will do anything for her. I know that I struggle with similar thoughts at times, while, you know, I recognize that in her as someone who has had similar thoughts. But to me, that is the turning point where she actually starts to let herself get close to them. And that's the moment where she lets herself be friends with them, or when she lets them be friends with her. That's when she lets them in. And that is a huge turning point for her as a character.
You bring that up, like it reminds me of like when she was running away initially, and she's like, "Man, I had a lot of fun sailing with them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when I resolve this, they'll let me sail with them again." And this is the thing: is
No, she was
and this
always
is
part
thing,
of the
it's
crew.
Like, no, it's like
She had left the crew,
is her
but the crew
realization.
had not let go of her.
yeah, part of the ship, part of
Yeah.
the crew. But it's like it's like the realization of it's like I tried to run away from them and. Real
And
friends.
they persisted. Yeah.
Real friends, even when you run away, they're fucking chasing you down.
Oh, yeah.
In a non-aggressive, violent, scary way.
Right. In a we're here for you way.
No, I should have tied those knots a little tighter way.
Right? And yeah, the end of the chapter was a perfect cliffhanger. I cannot wait to read the next one. Like, shit's about to go down.
This
And
next
then,
one's going to be so fucking...
also, just, I kind of love that Luffy's like, who's Arlong? Which one?
Yeah.
Which one
He
is
has
Arlong?
not
Like,
met
he's
him
just
yet.
ready to beat him up. But he's like, I don't know. And then Arlong's literally like, who are you? And then it ends there, and I'm just, so excited for the next one. But that's what I had for chapter 81. Dylan?
Yeah. Chapter 81. Whew, I'll tell you what. Chapter 81.
Tell you what.
God damn. This shit, like after I read this one, like, I
yeah.
talked to, like, because the thing is, like, I've been starting to bring, like, my tablet with me to work, and I'm reading on my breaks. Like, I got, like, after the embargo was lifted, within, like, 3 or 4 days, I was done with it, and I was like, I text messaged Michael, I was like, oh, dude, I gotta get to this next volume. This next volume's about to go off. Yeah, you see the fucking corrupt pieces of shit being corrupt pieces of shit, and then, like, at this point, Genzo's like, no, fuck this. It's done. Like, at this point, like, better to die fighting for my freedom than to live a slave. Some Braveheart shit. And then it's like, I love how it's like, everybody get your weapons. It's like, I knew Genzo was the one being like, they're like, oh, Genzo, you can't have weapons. But everybody kind of showed up with a lot of weapons. So they did a really bad job at confiscating weapons. Or Genzo had a fucking arsenal on hand.
It's kind of giving
Like some like Dana White-esque shit.
It's giving Gandalf walking into the halls of Rohan with his walking stick.
Oh, you wouldn't part a old man from his walking stick, would you? But the fucking, I'm not sure if it's been touched on already, but like the hug of Genzo, like you've done it enough. I'm not sure if it's been mentioned yet, but where it's like the whole thing, it's like, hey, we always knew. We just acted like we didn't.
Yeah.
To make it easier for you to do what you're doing. But you've done enough. It's time for us to shoulder our own responsibilities.
Yeah. Let us help you now.
Yeah. It's like it's like, yeah, you've been fighting for our fate. It's time that we started fighting for our fate too. And also super powerful. It's like she pulls out a knife. It's like, they'll kill you if you attack. Stop. Don't do it. And Genzo says, we know. Grabs the fucking knife. Super powerful. And again, you mentioned the Her gripping the tattoo, Arlong laughing in the back of her mind. Super powerful. And then she's stabbing. Luffy comes in, whap, grabs the knife. What are you doing? You don't know anything? He's like, yeah, I don't know anything. This has nothing to do with you. I told you to leave this island. Yeah, you told me. Still standing there. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you told me. I didn't listen. I'm Luffy, bitch. That's what I do.
It's Luffy, bitch.
And it's just, and it says, brr, brr. It's Brittany, bitch. And then Luffy help. And like, I can't express how powerful taking off the hat and putting it on Nami's head just immediately took me back to Shanks. Hey,
I know,
you're gonna be king of the pirates?
I know.
Keep this safe for me. Just, that was like, oh shit. And like, for me, that happened. I was like, again, I brought this up before. This is like some It Men rolling up the sleeves. Some ass is about to get beat. And again, you can't understate like the fucking cinematic fucking whole cruise. Like, yeah, we knew we were gonna fight. We're waiting for it.
That should have been a whole page.
Oh no, it should have.
Yeah, it should have. It should. Yeah, 2-page spread of like, let's go, and all of them were like, right.
Like, no questions asked.
Oh god, and fucking Johnny and not Johnny. I'm just kidding. Johnny and Yasuko, sitting at the front of the gate. They're like, hey, we tried. We kind of got our ass beat, but you can't go in. They will kill you. So you're not going in. Like, you can't. It's like, you can't keep us from going. You can't keep us from going. It's like, no, we're waiting for a certain crew.
Sure enough.
Kicks the door down. Which one is Arlong? Sheesh. God, that last page is like, bro.
I know.
Oh my god. Like, fuck, I hate these cliffhangers, but at the same time, I love them because, god damn it, I can't wait to crack into the next one.
Delicious.
You've given me trauma, and I want to see someone get their ass beat. Let's
exactly.
go.
Now,
Let's
we're
go.
due for a little bit of. We're due for catharsis. You know what I mean? That's exactly. It's like we've built up this tension of like developing this deep hatred for Arlong, and then we're like, I just want to see his blood all over.
Oh, this motherfucker better be like an assured dead motherfucker. Like, I want to see him rip his head off or some shit like that. But that's all I got. Like, oh god, I can't express like the end. Like the last like 4 pages of this chapter were so fucking powerful.
Good. So good.
This chapter picks up after the previous one so well, beyond well. It raises everything to the 10th degree. Yeah, not a moment of the energy or momentum that we have built so far is lost, and in fact is built on. Nami.
Motherfucker, we're cresting the top of the roller coaster.
Yes, we are. I want to say it's downhill, but it's uphill still. We're at the top and we're going up. Nami pleading as she's running back, like, please don't do anything you'll regret to the townspeople. She has no idea what's waiting for her. Yeah, the Genzo is just bawling the fuck out here. He could not be a more appropriate leader for this moment. He says, get your weapons, we're going to fight. And I think they understand exactly what they're getting into. They've lived it for years now.
I think they're ready. They're equally as ready as
they've probably everyone been ready for 10 fucking years.
They're as ready to die as anything.
Yeah.
And Nami embracing Genzo, who, you know, I wrote here, you fought well. It's our turn now. And she's tearing up, and that's when Luffy walks up, grabs the blade, and begins his march to Arlong Park. As we saw in the anime, I swear, they should have put like some two-page spread here. It doesn't make sense that there's not.
Would have been, whoo!
Or walking or waiting or anything. But this was page-turning stuff. I had the chills when I was rereading this. All I wrote here was ho. I literally spelled H-O space L-E fucking shit. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. I underlined the Luffy, the dagger, the scream, the Nami,
everything.
The tears.
Oh, yeah.
The straw hat. Yes. For my summary, because I always write a little summary, I wrote, you don't need to write it. PFFT, which is Pshaw, for those who aren't aware.
That's like after you showed me that, like,
that's all I put.
That because like me and Michael had talked about it a little bit. We're like, we gotta save this, but I want to show you this first. He showed me that, and like after I was like,
I showed you the same thing I showed him. But
after like he showed that, like looking back through it, it's like as like he like put the hat on her head, I just started dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun, dun.
It's oh goddamn.
Yeah.
Sorry for
Wow.
interrupting, but
No, you're fine. That is the end of the epic Volume 9.
so good.
Double digits coming up.
That was a ride, guys. Like, this one
Right.
was no joke.
And it's not over yet.
I know.
So I'm going to keep my final thoughts quick because I have them written down here. I know exactly what I want to say. What a ride this volume was. ... Ellipses, if you will.
Okay.
Definitely my favorite so far. The rising action of Arlong Park had me on edge the whole time. Not a mediocre chapter among them. Some that were not as good as others, but that does not make them mediocre.
Right.
Arlong has shown to be an absolute menace and definitely casts a shadow on everything we've read of the East Blue so far.
Yeah.
Hands down,
Wow.
right now, best fucking villain yet.
Yeah, and it's funny the way he's introduced with his little Hawaiian shirt and like, what does this guy really have to offer?
He seems
Right.
like a pretty chill dude.
I was so wrong.
the-
My first
the exact
impressions of
opposite
him
of chill.
were so wrong.
Yeah,
And I
he's
love
sickening.
I love that. I love that I was proven wrong.
And yeah, that's all I have to say. Dylan started off our discussion. He will go next, and then V, you'll wrap it up. And of course, I'll put in my closing bits as always.
Well, let's be honest. What else is there to add? Like,
Right.
Holy shit. My point, like where I'm at now, like this is a great volume. Explained a lot of like Nami now makes a shitload of sense. Her actions, it makes so much sense based on her past trauma and like why she acts the way, why she's kind of aloof sometimes. And like purposely trying to be distant in a way makes sense. But now, like, it makes me looking forward because now it's just like you've seen me for who I am. You know what I've got going on. Please help.
There's nothing to hide.
At this point, yeah, she's 100% open. I think at this point, I'm looking forward to see how she interacts with the crew after the resolution of this. And also, another thing I'm really excited for, as we've said, the Don Krieg shit felt really dragged out. But when it actually got to the fight of the Don Krieg shit, that was fucking dope. I'm very excited to see the Arlong fight and how it plays out. Now that the whole crew's there, like we're probably going to see some of some of the officers fighting some of the other crew. I feel like we're going to get a taste of seeing what everyone can do. And because before Kuro was the closest of kind of like seeing the contingency of the whole crew kind of doing their own, like doing their thing and fighting. But I think this one for sure is going to be like, everyone is going to be no holds bar, fucking throwing it out there, beating ass, and I cannot wait. Like, I am so excited for this next volume. And I might have to agree, this might, like, the setting of the Baratier, fucking love. It's the best setting ever. It's like, make a Ghibli movie about the Baratier.
Right?
And I will watch
Yeah.
the ever-living shit out of it. But now it's like, oh, action is coming. I can't, like, I'm just, words do not express how giddy I am to get to this next volume. But that's all I got. Like, super, like, I will say, probably so far, best volume. Touched on some heavy-hitting shit, but done tastefully, added a shitload of depth to the story. And I will say, it's great to see a main bad guy who actually has, like, some depth to him. Kuro, I would say Kuro beforehand. Kuro was the guy, like the bad guy that had a little bit of depth to him, like some depth
I would
to him.
agree.
And with Krieg had no depth, but Gin had shitloads of like fucking character development and depth. But Arlong is just like, ooh, okay. Arlong favorite. I love to hate him. So favorite bad guy so far is Arlong. But that's all I got.
V.
God.
Also, I lift the embargo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, you got a little defensive about that last time.
Oh, I was kidding.
As am I.
This was a magnificent volume. It had everything I like. I'm not saying I'm a masochist, but I love drama, and I love when it makes sense. I love when it serves a purpose. I love when it actually carries the story with it, and it's not just drama for the sake of drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this did that justice. I think it did the characters justice. All of the characters that are involved in what we just saw unfold are made more complete because of the events that occurred. Namely Nami, but also like we got to know Benma, we got to know Nojiko, we've also gotten to know like Zoro and Luffy in different ways
Genzo
than what
too.
we had, right, Genzo also in different ways as what we had seen prior. And I feel like it humanized everything. It made it made it very real and very relatable, kind of in the worst ways, because we've seen kind of the extent of human suffering in this volume. And I'm not a very hateful person. I'm not the kind of person that will wish death upon anyone, really. But I cannot wait to see Arlong's blood smeared all over the walls of his palace. And I cannot...
Yeah, that's badass, V.
I cannot wait to see him suffer the same way that he has made other people suffer. Like, he evokes this deep sense of resentment and revenge in me that not very many villains do. Because I feel like he is cruel. I don't think that he's justified, or at least we don't have the backstory for him to justify the actions that he has taken, and that makes him absolutely despicable. And I will relish in his downfall.
God, I hope they paper the walls with his hide.
That's it. That's exactly it. And I'm just, I can't wait to see the Straw Hats tear him apart.
New figurehead for the merry-go is Arlong's head.
Yeah.
I'm really not a hateful person, but he has triggered something in me, guys. But yeah, I think that volume as a whole touched me very deeply as a human being and as someone who has a lot of empathy for things that I haven't experienced myself. And I want things to be made right. And I feel like right now I'm in the state of like all of this wrong and all of this heartbreak has happened to characters that I have grown to love, and I want justice to be served. And I'm very excited for what's to come in the next volume. And hopefully I will get that sweet, sweet revenge that is served cold.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Anyway, that's what I had to kind of wrap up the volume.
One final point I kind of want to make, because we've talked about how Genzo very much cares for the people of his village, cares about their well-being, and Boodle the Poodle was very
true.
very, very simple. And
Yeah, there are analogs in a way.
Good leaders. Overall, good leaders.
And it just makes me think, is this like a cultural thing, or it's like in Japan, or the village elders usually so gung-ho for making sure their village prospers,
the village elder kind of thing. Yeah,
because in America, mayor of your town don't give a shit about your fucking
the first
needs.
one out the town.
Yeah, the mayor of your town, he's putting all that money that's supposed to I hate to say it, Flint, Michigan, that money went to his pocket, not into your fucking water system.
Oh yeah,
sorry.
And I feel like it's so refreshing to have these figures in it is a bit sad that they're in fiction, but these figures in this manga that actually will do anything that they can for their communities and will put their lives on the line for the betterment of the folks that they live with, right? And it's somewhat encouraging. Not all is
it's
lost.
refreshing and depressing as fuck at the same time.
Anyway.
Man, if only.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, I got really
with
preachy
that,
at the end.
no, you're good. You're good. We've been trauma dumping. We've been preaching. This deserves 2 episodes, to be quite honest. So with that, I'm going to lift the embargo on Volume 10.
Okay. Fucking wait.
So again, I want to thank you 2 for joining me. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for being here every step of the way. Listeners, thank you for listening.
We love you, listeners.
You're the reason that we do this, but also because we have fun. And we would just want to share our thoughts with you, and you give us a platform to do so. So
yeah, we hope you have as much fun as we do.
Exactly.
Right.
Listening to the discussions we have.
Perfect way to summarize it. So definitely check us out on Twitter at PodFruit, Instagram PodFruit, same on TikTok, same on YouTube. And
I just want to add something real quick. I know that this episode was pretty heavy. If the listeners have any thoughts that they would like to share, any opinions that might differ from our own, please feel free to express them. We're always open-minded with regards to that, and we want to hear from you guys.
Hey, we have a Discord.
Yeah, we have a Discord, but if you want to DM us, we're around. You can certainly go through me to reach either of these 2 as well. And yeah, I know we touched on a lot of heavy stuff. If you have something heavy to to get off your chest. It will be anonymous. I promise we'll never put anyone out there that does not want to be.
And please know also, if any of the listeners out here are going through difficult times, there are helplines out there depending on where you're at, in which country, which region. Like, feel free to reach out and make sure that, you know, you're okay. You know, there is help out there.
We're looking forward to our next journey together. And for now, bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Ciao, Bella.